Hey guys, I'm Elizabeth McCravy, a website designer and business coach for entrepreneurs and your host for the Breakthrough Brand podcast, the show that's all about pulling back the curtain on how to actually build a successful business. I don't skim the surface around here. If you want a deep dive into the nitty-gritty details of what it takes to run a successful business and stand out in a crowd, you're in the right place. After creating a multiple six-figure-a-year website design business in my 20s, I'm ready to share everything I've learned and everything I'm still learning because I believe the keys to building a thriving business should never be a secret. Here you'll find episodes that are actionable, direct, and fun, like friends chatting business over coffee, and a fresh, honest take on the reality of being an entrepreneur. If you're ready to master online marketing, branding, website design, mindset, and business strategy, then this is the podcast for you. It's time to build your breakthrough brand. Let's do this. Hey guys, did you know that my main thing is actually designing and creating website templates? If you want a website that's easy to customize, strategic, smart, and ready to grow with your business, you've got to check out Elizabeth McCravy shop. I'm constantly adding new templates to the mix, from full site templates with all the pages you need, including a full blog, to simpler add-ons that you can add to any show website. You can use the code BBPodcast for 10% off your template and head to elizabethmccravy.com/shop to check out my entire collection. That's BBPodcast for 10% off. And I want to read you two recent customer testimonials. So Melinda recently said, before Elizabeth McCravy shop, my website was boring and frustrating. And now my website is beautiful and full of opportunity. Love hearing that. And Vicky recently said, the thing I love most about it is that it looks like a custom website I've spent thousands on. No one would know it's a template, and it's so easy to customize and make my own. I've customized many different templates over the years, and nothing has been as easy or enjoyable as this. So you heard it there. Great feedback. So go to elizabethmccravy.com/shop to check out the entire template collection. Link is also in the show notes. Now back to the episode. Welcome back, friends, to the Breakthrough Brand podcast. Today we have a special treat because I'm chatting about a super relevant topic, AI and automations in our business, with my friend Dawn Richardson from Tech Savvy Creative. So Dawn is a longtime online friend, a longtime Elizabeth McCravy shop customer. We're going to talk about that at the end of this interview, but she has multiple templates kind of mashed together in her website. So fun. And we both were conference speakers together at the Creative Educator Conference in January of this year. So we got to meet in real life for the first time then. And immediately after that event, I contacted Dawn, emailed her, and I was like, come on my podcast and talk about this, because it was so helpful what all she shared at that conference and what she showed me one-on-one when we literally, we talked about this on the interview. There was one moment where we're in the car driving together. She showed me some of this AI stuff and I'm like, Dawn, you're blowing my mind. So I wanted you guys to get all the scoop from this and learn from her as well. So a little bit about Dawn. She's the creator of Tech Savvy Creative, and she started in software engineering and then did wedding photography. And now she's back to the world of tech. So she really understands us as creative entrepreneurs because she did the wedding photography thing for about 7 years. And her mission is to create a safe, fun, and welcoming corner of the internet where creative entrepreneurs can learn how to leverage and implement technology in their business so they can spend less time working and more time with the people that matter most, which I think we can all relate to that goal. So whether that's automation, AI tools, software and systems, or even things like choosing the right computer hardware, her goal is to create content that's friendly and easy to understand. She's so helpful with understanding tech well. She's also the mama of 2 young girls, which we're going to talk about that at the end of this episode, some of the working mom life strategies she has and what her schedule is like right now. So in this interview, though, we're going to talk about all the different automation AI tools you need to check out. And you'll hear many that you probably have not heard of. I had not heard of a lot of what she shared today. And I'm mind blown with some of the stuff I'm that's amazing that all this stuff is out here. So we're going to talk about that. We talk about Chat GPT and AI writing tools, when to automate, what to automate in your business, different things about AI, working mom life with little time, and so much more. So I'm really pumped about this. I learned a lot in this. I'm literally ready to sign off on introing this and go check out the tools you're about to hear Dawn talk about because they are freaking amazing. So now here's Dawn to introduce herself, and then we'll get into the interview.
Thank you for having me. Super excited to be here. And I am Dawn. I am the owner of Tech Savvy Creative, and I help creative entrepreneurs go from tech overwhelm to tech empowered. And right now, the hot topic is AI. So we're going to be talking about that today. A little bit more about me, though. I'm a mama of two little girls. I live in San Antonio. And in my past life, I was a software engineer. I became a wedding photographer, and now I'm back in tech, but in the creative space.
I love that. And I love hearing, I didn't tell you this before we started recording, but I just listened. It was like an old episode that you and Laylee did together on So Here's the Thing, where you were talking about pivoting from wedding photography to what you do now. So, and did you just recently completely finish that pivot of finishing up weddings, or has that been a while?
Yeah. So my last official wedding was in October of 2022. So just a few months ago. I do have what I'm calling an encore wedding in May. But it was a good friend of mine, and he was like, you're either going to sit in the audience or you're going to shoot this wedding for me and get paid. And I was like, okay, here's my invoice. So for the most part, the studio is completely closed.
How did that feel bittersweet doing that October wedding? What was that like?
It was very bittersweet. And the crazy full circle thing about it was at my favorite venue, which is the venue that I got married at. And so it was this really big final full circle moment, and it all just kind of came together. But it was so much peace, so much emotion. But it was also okay, I'm on to the thing that I was created to do. And I am so thankful for these last 7 years in weddings, because that experience lets me do what I do now and truly understand what it's like to be a creative entrepreneur. So I'm so thankful for all of it. I don't miss my Saturdays at weddings, but just so grateful that I had those 7 years.
Yeah. It's so great to point that out, because it is for all the listeners, Dawn was a wedding photographer. Our space, the creative life. And it's cool too, because you did kind of close that business and start a new one, and you're able to be home now with your kids more and and have a more flexible type business. So I love all that. And I'm so happy for you and seeing that transition.
Well, thank you.
Okay. Let's talk about AI. And all that good stuff. Okay, so to kind of give a little backstory, I guess, you spoke about this at the Creative Educator Conference in January, which we were both speakers at, and everyone loved your talk. I feel like you were the speaker of the year moment. Everyone was like, oh my gosh, mind blown. That's certainly how I felt. And I learned a lot. And AI in this whole chat GPT, I always want to say BT. I got to get that right. I'm probably going to mess up during this interview. But it feels like it popped up overnight. And in reality, it kind of did, because that company in particular, by OpenAI, they launched it in November of 2022. So it actually, the reason we feel like it happened overnight is because it kind of did, and it blew up really quickly. So it's been, AI has been around in different capacities, but that big buzz of ChatGPT is fairly new. So will you share a little bit about what that is, where it came from, to listeners who might be like, hey, I've heard people talk about this, but and I've seen the ads. Maybe you've seen the ads on Facebook. I get so many ads. But
Yes.
What is it? What do we need to know about it as creatives?
Absolutely. So when it comes to AI tools, that feeling that you feel of oh my gosh, where did this come from? You're totally right, because it did. It was November 30th. It was the end of November that it came out. So the interesting thing about ChatGPT is that it was truly one of the first AI tools to have a public interface. And it was also one of the first AI tools that came to the public that has also been trained pretty significantly already. Now, in the past, there have been some AI tools by Facebook, by Microsoft, that have come to the surface in 2018, 2019 timeframe, but they weren't trained quite yet. And when the public got a hold of them, they kind of, took it down by training it bad things. And that's not good. But ChatGPT came to the surface, and it was already smart, and it got people really excited. And they had over 1 million users in the first 5 days. Gosh, it is crazy. The fastest growing application in history. It is wild. So a little bit about ChatGPT. ChatGPT is what's called a generative AI tool. And that means that it is creating brand new content based on things that it's learned in the past. So kind of like what we're doing. I didn't create ChatGPT, but I'm teaching you about it. I'm telling you about it. I'm creating my own original content when we're talking about it. But if we want to take a step back even further, talk about AI, AI stands for artificial intelligence, and artificial intelligence is a model that is mimicking problem solving and decision making like a human would. Now, this is different from automations, though. Automations are typically things that processes and tasks that happen automatically based on a certain set of rules. But all AI is a type of automation, but not all automations are AI. So it doesn't go both ways. So sometimes I'll hear somebody out there and they'll be like, my favorite AI tools, and they put something like HoneyBook in there. And HoneyBook is a great automation tool, but it is not an artificial intelligence tool yet. So just keep that in mind, that there's differences between the two. But it's really wild to see what it's doing. And it's really led to this huge wave of all of these other tools, because not only is ChatGPT now at the surface, but it's also fueling a lot of the technology behind these other tools. So a lot of the other tools that we might be using are using a GPT framework in the back end. So it's really opened the doors for a lot of exciting things.
Yeah. And with that, does that mean that they are using the base that OpenAI created, or it's just that this is like a completely open domain thing to use? Does that question make sense?
So like, is it like an API? So yeah, OpenAI is allowing other tools to use their API. Yes. So I couldn't tell you like, what's the cost behind it or how this works. But there's also different versions of GPT. So you might have heard the term GPT-4 recently, which is just the latest version of their technology. Okay. Something exciting about GPT-4, you're going to see it more and more. And by the time this releases, it might be like super popular. But who knows? But GPT-4 not only takes text input like you do with ChatGPT, but it also takes images. Oh. So for example of how I could use GPT-4 is I could open my refrigerator, take a picture of what's inside of it, and ask GPT-4 what I can make for dinner. What? Based off of what's inside, right?
That is pretty cool. Weird. That is so cool.
So cool. But right now, GPT-3, which is probably the version that most people are using, is text. So you would ask it a question, you would ask it for help, you would ask it to summarize, and it would generate some original content based on that input.
Interrupting this episode with a suggestion for the small business owners listening. Ever wonder what you should do for healthcare when you and your spouse are both self-employed, so there's no work-provided health insurance to participate in? Well, when my husband Adam joined me in the entrepreneurial job space over 4 years ago, we joined Christian Healthcare Ministries instead of getting traditional health insurance. And it was the best decision for us, especially in these years of growing and raising a family while also running multiple businesses. CHM is a health cost-sharing ministry and is a faith-based alternative to health insurance. We did tons of research before choosing CHM, and if you know me and Adam, you know we are all about doing the math when making big or small financial decisions. And even though it's not insurance, CHM shares 100% of eligible medical bills, which is more than the typical 70 or 80% of medical bills paid for by insurance companies. All sharing is determined by the CHM guidelines, which you can check out before and after joining. And for the mamas and mamas to be listening, you truly cannot find a better healthcare option for maternity care. I had a vaginal delivery and a C-section and birth center care and hospital care between my 2 pregnancies and births, and it was all 100% shared for. And outside of birth, we've had our share of emergency room visits and procedures as a family, and those costs were all shared by members at Christian Healthcare Ministries, leaving us only paying our monthly contribution. CHM is less expensive month to month than insurance, and because there's no network, you can choose your care with whichever providers best fit your family. I seriously just cannot recommend Christian Healthcare Ministries enough. You've got to check them out. Go to elizabethmccravy.com/CHM for more information. Also putting that link in the show notes, elizabethmccravy.com/CHM. Now back to the episode. Yeah, that's crazy. Okay. And yes, for everyone listening, y'all are going to hear this about 3 to 4 weeks after me and Dawn are recording. But I'm getting this out as quickly as I can. I was like, that's like the next slot on like that. I don't already have an episode plan. So you guys are going to hear it pretty quickly, but it's some stuff I've already changed a little bit. And so when we were at the conference together, you might not even remember this, but we were driving from the hotel and the show guys were driving us, sitting in the back seat, and you were telling me a little bit about your talk that day, and you showed me this software on your phone, and I was like, that was the first time I had seen it, so I'm a little bit of a slow adopter, I guess, that had been out for like over a month, and I had not even looked at it, but you were showing it to me, and it was like, I told you, I just wrote and published a blog post about Colin's nursery that was like a boho green baby nursery. And then you showed me how you could like write a post about boho baby boy. And it was, of course, like not a great post for that particular topic and like needed a lot of work, but it was crazy to like watch it, just start writing it. So, okay. A question for you with all this. I've seen, and I have now business owners who are experimenting with ChatGPT to write blog posts, Instagram captions. We were just talking about like podcast questions, all of that kind of stuff, even advertising copy, marketing emails, all of it. What would you say for that one? And we can also get into the other like paid different versions of this type of technology softwares, but like what should we be using it for and not using it for as business owners?
So my recommendation to creatives and business owners is use these tools to tackle the mundane and go from what Natalie Frank recently said on one of her reels, go from stuck to started. Mm-hmm. These tools, if used well, are not intended to like replace you. They're not intended to like totally eliminate your employees or the talent on your team. Now, these tools might try. And I think we're going to see people try to replace people with these tools. But I think if you really want this to help boost your business, especially as an entrepreneur, as a solopreneur, use these to tackle the mundane. Help it get you started by generating an outline, or maybe using it to correct your grammar, or even like giving it a whole blog post and say, okay, generate me a Q&A from this blog post. Or an example Natalie gave was create a multiple choice question from this blog post so she could post it on her Instagram stories with a poll. So take your talent that you've already created, your content, and allow it to help you either reverse engineer it and break it down into Instagram captions, to fix your grammar, maybe to beef it up for more words, because sometimes blog posts like more words than you might have. Let it do those mundane tasks that are not really taking your true talent, right? Mm-hmm. It's these tools where I think people are getting in trouble is they get in this mindset of like, oh my gosh, it's going to replace me. Like, no, I don't think your zone of genius is creating like the basic text of your Instagram post. Like that's not where your genius is. Your genius is the topic, all of the things around it, the actual content. This is just helping you take it to the next level. So I would encourage any business user, use this, go play with it, experiment with it, and see how it can help you with those tasks that might not be the best use of your time. So you can then focus your actual time on the tasks that really do matter. Now, if you're planning on going in here and just like throwing like, write me a blog post about X, Y, and Z and copying and pasting it and just like calling it a day, I think we're going to see some of that really have some downfall in the next few months, especially as the legal system catches up. Right now, tech is moving faster than the law, and I can't speak to that at all, but I do know that I think things are going to change when they do get a hold of it. So use it for good, not necessarily to just copy and paste and call it a day.
Yeah. What's been your favorite thing you've used it for, like in your own business, or that you've seen, like your favorite application of using it for yourself or someone else?
Okay. So my favorite application for using ChatGPT is not business related at all, but I'm a mom. I am busy and I have no time to be doing mundane tasks like meal planning. So my favorite personal use is every Sunday I jump onto ChatGPT. I say, make me a 7-day meal plan that is kid friendly and doesn't have fish in it, or it's low carb, or whatever the flavor of the week is. And it will generate me a full meal plan, breakfast, lunch, and dinner that's kid friendly. And then once I get the meal plan the way I like it, I can say, okay, now make me a shopping list with all of these items. And it generates me the shopping list. So something exciting, as of last week, OpenAI has announced ChatGPT plugins, which is allowing other tools to integrate with this software as well. and Instacart is one of them. So not only can I generate my shopping list, but there's a strong possibility in the next few weeks that shopping list can be automatically added to my Instacart and everything is done. So
that's crazy.
Now I don't have to spend the 2 hours it takes for me to meal plan, to write the list, to make the order, or to go to the grocery store. I can do this in like 5 minutes, get it done, and then go spend my weekend with my kiddos. So that's my personal favorite way to use it. But I also love using it when I'm just stuck. If I need, give me 10 Instagram post ideas related to AI, or what are questions that creative entrepreneurs have about artificial intelligence? And then I use those prompts to create my content for the week. So there's so many ways you can do this. It's just endless.
I love that, asking like what questions would people have about this particular topic to get some ideas there. So I want to share 2 ways I've used it recently, because I have started using it more, and it feels weird because I am like, oh wow, this is so cool. And you start to feel like, I felt a few times like I need this to load, and it won't, because it's like there's so many people on it right now or whatever. But a way I've used it is I write a lot of my own copy. And so I have a template launch that will have already happened by the time this episode airs. But I wrote all 4 emails for it, just from scratch, wrote them myself to talk about these templates. If I were to have told it to be like, write about my template launch for Show It, it would have been like, show it templates, have launch. Show It is that. It would have not been a good email. So I wrote my emails though. And then I started out, I literally said, hello, this is an email. It's a marketing email being sent to my email list about a sale I'm having, a new template. Can you make this email? And then I put in some words I wanted it to be. Can you make it more grammatically correct? I like to say, can you make it punchier or funnier and things like that? And it does do a good job. And so I end up seeing what they change it to. And then there's like some paragraphs that I'm like, that's horrible. Or there's times where I'm like, they rewrote that. I'm like, that sounds so much better. It's less words. It's more direct. They said that better than, I said that better than I would have. And so then I kind of mesh that together with what I originally wrote. And I found that to be really helpful. And another way I've used it recently is for my templates filler copy. So I'm with that same template. I'm like,
that's brilliant.
Yeah. And that's where it feels really easy, because I can kind of like, so for example, on the blog demo, you guys can go see this on the new Carrie template, but I like to always have like, it's showing you, okay, here's what it really would be like if it's a real blog. And so I had to come up with like 10 different blog post headlines to put as filler. And so I said like, okay, come up with 10 blog post titles for social media managers, for realtors. And I put those in and put in like filler beginner copy. So that was like a cool way to use it that made me not have to like reinvent the wheel and like, okay, if I was writing a blog post for this person, what would I do? So
that's amazing. I mean, going from stuck to started, right?
Yeah, I like that phrase for it. Yeah.
I love it.
Okay, so let's talk about other tools. So Jasper's another one, and there are others as well that you might know about that I'm completely unaware of, but like Chat GPT, I'm like tongue twisted on that. It has a free version. It also has a paid version now that is about $20 a month, I believe. But then Jasper is more expensive, does more things. So basically, like, would you say we need to be paying for Jasper and a tool like that, or should we use this free version?
So I think it depends. And I think this is the same answer I would give when it comes to any tool out there. I think every business owner is going to have a particular learning style. They're going to have a particular process, and every tool has a purpose for that person. So while I am somebody who does pay for Jasper, I do love Jasper because I really appreciate the templates that it has. And when I say templates, if you have not been in Jasper yet, you can jump on to Jasper, and it is created for like business marketing. So they have all of these pre-created templates. There is create a Pinterest description. There is create an intro to a blog post. There is create a marketing email. They have all of these business-esque templates ready to go. But one thing I really like about Jasper is that when I click on that template, it asks me questions. Like, it's like, what's the name of your business? What's the name of this product? What words do you want this to rank for, like in Google?
That's nice.
What's the description? So it's really asking me for more information that is giving me a better result. So I really like Jasper in that sense, that it like when I go in there with a specific need, I'm going to leave with what I needed. Where with ChatGPT, it might take some time to get your prompt exactly right in the way that you want it to be. Like, so you're kind of like, oh, I'm going to redo that, or I'm going to try that again. So again, there's going to be use cases for everybody. Do you have to pay for it? Whether it's ChatGPT or a tool, it's totally up to you. You have to decide what is the right fit for your business and if it is worth that investment. Now, when it comes to ChatGPT itself, the paid version, which is called ChatGPT Plus, they do have not only faster response time. So, like when it's actually generating the content, it's faster. It's smarter because it's actually using GPT-4 in the paid version.
Okay.
In the free version, you're using GPT-3. So down the line, when they do release the image input, you will have to be a paid user of GPT to access that. So there's going to be some of those features behind that paywall here soon. But again, it's totally up to you. Also and again, I'm a lawyer. I cannot give any advice, but do take a look at the terms in each of these tools because they're all different. So some tool might claim more of your information than another tool. So when you're comparing and contrasting, it's always a good idea to take a look on how they're using your data and what data they're keeping in order to make sure you're making the best decision for you and your business.
That's a good tip. I love that. And I love knowing too that it's, that paid version. That'll be interesting when that happens because I'm sure a lot more people move to paid. Okay. So also AI, all this stuff is popping up in a lot of the tools that we're used to using as business owners. One is Canva has the Magic Write tool now. Tailwind has Tailwind Ghostwriter, which I have that plugin now. I think it just automatically came. It's literally on Riverside right now. We're recording.
I see it. It's in the corner.
It's like
our little ghost is right there.
I'm like, what are we supposed to do with that right now? But it's everywhere. And it's supposed to also be in ClickUp 3.0 coming, I don't know when, but like it's popping up in all these tools we're already using. So from what you know of these, which ones would you say are like worth checking out? And which ones are you like, that one's not good yet? Like, what can you kind of tell us about that?
I'd say try them all, especially if it's in a tool you already have and you already pay for. Why not? So yes, ClickUp has announced it in 3.0. 3.0 is kind of a mythical thing. We don't know when it's actually coming or not. We're all part of the waiting game there. Notion already has it in Notion AI. I am currently using Notion and I actually really like their AI. So I'm a big fan of that. And how many of us are Canva users already? Especially, I'm a paid Canva user. Yep. And not only is Magic right there, but in the last week after their big conference, now there's Canva Assistant throughout everything. So now at any page on Canva, I have my AI tool available to me. Okay. And they have even released these new, you drop in an image and it will create all of these different graphics for you with that one image. So yes, it's not just text anymore.
How does it do that though? What does that look like? Can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah. So I mean, the Canva one, so let's say I took my headshot, for example, and then I can give it some words. So I can be like, new on the blog, my 5 favorite AI tools. And then I can drop my image in and then Canva will create 5 different graphics. I can say I want them in an Instagram story format or maybe a reel cover. And it will automatically generate that for me using that text and also my photo and then my brand guidelines if they have it. So
that's kind of cool. Kind of basing it off of their different templates, but then pulling in your brand guides. That is amazing. I'm a huge Canva fan for those kind of graphics. So I'm like, I need to check that out. That's really cool.
Yeah. But if you already have these tools, if you're already a Canva user, if you already use Tailwind, go play with it. Yeah. It's not going to hurt to go play. You might find a use case that we haven't even talked about and it might just totally rock your world. And if it doesn't, then move on. Yeah. It's not, I think we'll talk about this in a little bit here, but when it comes to automations and AI and any kind of technology, it's not an all or nothing. You don't have to completely scrap everything in your business and start from the ground up if you want to use tech in your business. You can do little pieces that add up over time. You can just start using Tailwind Ghostwriter to create your Pinterest captions just to help you with that one piece of your business. Those little changes really add up over time. So don't be afraid to try it. Take an hour, go get a coffee, go sit at a Starbucks and go play with some AI tools.
Yeah, that's a fun little challenge to and a great way to kind of start testing them out. Okay, yeah. So pivoting to even what you're talking about now, that was a big part of what you shared at the Creative Educator Conference. Like I said, your presentation was so great. But how to use AI and automations, which like you said, those are different. Honeybook is not AI. Dubsado is not AI. Those are ways to automate your business. Yeah, really, that's true. That'll be interesting to watch. Yeah, but I think there's a lot of fear and a lot of excitement, but around like how AI is evolving. And I think a lot of business owners, especially newer business owners maybe, who are like, you're getting like plunged into this world and you're like, oh wait, I can do like this automated email thing. And like, wait, is that less personalized though? Maybe I shouldn't use that. I want everyone to have like the best experience. I need to have myself and everything. What would you say to people listening who are hesitant to use technology to make their business and lives easier because they worry it's going to be an expense to their customer experience and client experience?
Totally. So this goes back on the thing that we just talked about of it's not all or nothing. Like when you introduce a tool into your business, that doesn't mean that you don't talk to your clients anymore. Like a lot of people just have this like fear, like, oh, automations are going to take over everything. I can't talk to my client anymore. And no, the answer is it doesn't. It's going to help you tackle a small piece of your business that maybe didn't really is part of your client experience, but it's not directly you talking to your client. Now with this, you might be able to create higher quality emails faster so you can spend more time in that one-on-one conversation with your client, or you can spend more time enhancing your experience with something more personalized. These tools are just opening the door to letting you just make a better experience and stand out even more. Something interesting that has been talked about in a couple of conversations is like our benchmark is slowly getting higher and higher, and that's really intimidating. If you look at it like 15 years ago, everybody like website, you have to have a website, right? Like that's your thing. Everybody has a website. And now it's like, okay, you have a website, but now you have an email list. And now you have to have Instagram. Mm-hmm. And so now with AI, the bench is just getting higher because more people are going to be creating that quality content. They're going to be having better client experiences because they're not spending all of that time doing all of those manual things that didn't serve the client. It was part of their business because they had to, but now they are freed up because it took them 5 minutes to write that email series rather than 5 hours. What can you do with that time? Does that mean you have a better experience for your clients? Does that mean you spend more time at home with your babies? I know what it means for me. I'm working at home with a baby at home all the time. So for me, these tools are my way to get time back so I can spend more time with my family. When the baby's in school, then we'll talk about how to use these tools to make my experience better or to launch a new product that I maybe didn't have time for. But coming back down to what would I tell somebody that is getting started, that's intimidated by this, that doesn't want to lose that personal experience? Don't use this for your personal experience. Use this for the things that you don't want to personalize. Like, you know what? I don't need a personalized email reminder that you haven't paid me yet. Like, I don't care. I don't care if that's automated. I want that to be automated. And I hope they do know that I have a system that's watching them. That's okay. I just think kind of sit down, figure out what is important to you that's truly a human touch point and what parts of your business don't really matter if it's a human touch point or not. And then start with those pieces that don't matter. And I think you'll just catch the bug and you want to automate more and more things as you go.
Yeah, I love all that and that explanation. Okay, with that. And I would love for you to maybe kind of explain this a little bit, but I've heard you talk about that there's really simple automations and then there's the like WTF automations where it's like, what the heck? How
my automation spectrum.
Yeah. So let's talk about that a little bit. And with that as well, like, okay, it's like, well, yeah, what are the simple automations? Then what are the like crazy stuff? And what's something too that you're like on the simple hand, maybe that you're like, wait, why aren't more people using this? But it's a really simple, easy automation.
Totally. So you're referring to something I call the automation spectrum. And this is just something that I came up with at random one day. I love it. I use it all the time now. But on the bottom, on the far left of the spectrum, you have your simple automations, you have your pretty cool automations in the middle, and then you have your WTF automations on the other end. So over on the simple automations, this is where everybody should start. If you're brand new to automating or using technology in your business, start with the basic functions if you are a service-based business. So that is your contracts, your invoices, and your reminders.
Yeah.
Those simple things. Those things need to be automated. Have a system in place that allows you to sign contracts online. Have a system in place that will remind your clients that a payment is due. Have a system in place that reminds them that something is coming up. That is the best place to start. I also love starting here for business owners, especially new business owners, because just getting this system in place, whether that's Honeybook or Dubsado or whatever tool that you're using, getting that system in place will often take somebody from the hobby mentality to the business mentality. Yeah, so and true. Your own way that you think about yourself and your business is a huge factor to how you treat your clients and how you present yourself. So getting that system in place is going to make you feel more legit, and it is going to make you more legit. Stop sending manual invoice reminders. Let the system do it for you. So that's where I start on the simple automations. Also slightly unrelated, if you were to ask me what is one thing that everybody needs to automate like right now, it's a backup for your computer. There's no excuses. 100%.
I need your help with that. I don't do that. Oh my gosh. Tell us more.
Yeah. Yes. Here's the thing. So before I worked as a software engineer, before I did all the things, I worked for Apple. I spent a lot of time behind the Genius Bar for a couple of years. And I was there in the Steve Jobs days. I was there. We launched the iPhone 4 and the first iPad. So that's cool. When I was at Apple. It was a wild time. It was amazing time to be a part of it. But one thing I learned while working behind the Genius Bar is that all hard drives will fail. It's just a matter of when. It's just like all cars are going to fail eventually. Some of these cars last a bazillion 100 miles and you don't know why. But other cars like die before they even hit 100,000 miles. Like there's lemons out there. Same with technology. So if I had to, what is something that every single person in the world should have, is a backup of your data, because what happens most of the time is people don't take that seriously until they've lost everything. And then it's a conversation. Yeah. Don't wait to lose all of your family photos before you start taking this seriously. Whether that's an online backup or if it's just a simple backup on your Mac, like with Time Machine, it's definitely something that everybody needs to take seriously. And I do have some resources for that. I can send that to you.
Yeah, we can link to those for everyone. Yeah, that's and that's so true. Have you ever heard Bob Goff talk about his book that he lost because his computer got stolen? He lost the entire book he wrote. Yeah, I think it was his second book, and then he just started over completely. But he starts off the book telling about how it was only on Word docs on his laptop, not backed up anywhere, and his laptop got stolen. It was like, I remember reading that stuff, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to start backing up stuff. I'm like, that's horrible for that to happen. And it's like, that even could have been solved by just using like Google Docs,
Oh, yeah, exactly. There's so many cloud-based softwares out there right now. Like, if my computer were to disappear right now, I could get everything back by signing into Dropbox or using a Time Machine backup, etc. And also, I think it's important to remember that it's not always just failed hard drives. Like, technology does fail, but 90% of what came into the Genius Bar were people dropping their laptops getting stolen out of cars, toddlers pulling things off of cabinets and counters. I have these tiny little Samsung SSD drives, and if you're watching the video, I have it in my hand. They are amazing. They're solid state. They're expensive, but they also fit into a coffee mug. Ask me how I know that. So, like one day I just knocked it off and it just went straight into my coffee mug. And that was the end of that hard drive. So there's just so much human error that can cause this failure. It's not always just the hard drive failing. So keep that in mind, because a lot of people will be like, well, I bought the really expensive one, or it's a solid state drive. Like, I'm totally fine. And that's not true at all.
Yeah.
So don't wait until you've lost your data to take it seriously.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so I love those early things. So the contract invoice and reminders, that was when you were explaining just now how like that makes you feel legit. I remember feeling that way because I did when I first started my business, I was literally in Adobe Illustrator making every single invoice in Adobe Illustrator. It's like, that was so much like, and it's exporting, same as a PDF, custom writing every, email to that client. I had a written in my planner system for when I was going to remember to remind them when their payments are due. And pretty quickly I started using Dubsado, and it was like, yes, now I feel more legit. Now I have my time freed up because I'm not having to remember when everyone's stuff is due. And the invoice was like cool looking from Illustrator, but it's like, it looks better and more professional anyway in Dubsado and easier for me to manage, not having to custom put in the date and what payment number and all that. So I love that. What's like the next level of automations?
The pretty cool automations. So there's so many of them. So one really popular one, and we might talk about this a little bit more, is like Instagram chatbots. So ManyChat, ChatMonkey, like all of these different chats. So if you have seen recently on some posts that's like, comment this word and I will send you a DM. Those are automations. There's tools out there that automate that for you and can really create an amazing experience for the people using it because they get what they want really fast. But also, you don't have to do anything. It's all automated. There's ways in these tools that you can create. Jenna Kutcher on the Gold Digger podcast recently had an episode about this, and she talked about how she had 30 different responses. So it really didn't look like the same thing every single time. Like it was totally different every time. And something kind of cool about those types of tools is that it creates an impression of demand. Like now there might be demand, but when other people see that other people are asking for it, more people want to ask for it because they're like, well, all these people asked for it. Now I got to figure it out. So it kind of creates like a whole different system. But one of my other favorite automations, I have two more. So another one is a tool called Tango. I am a huge fan of Tango. I pay for Tango. I'm obsessed with them. Please take my money. I hope they do amazing things. But Tango is a tool. It connects. You can connect it to your computer or to your browser, depending on if you're paid or not. And I can, what is called like start the Tango. So I click my Tango button and it starts our Tango. And then I do whatever I'm doing. So like, let's say I'm creating a new workflow in Dubsado. I go do my thing. And then when I'm done doing it, I stop the Tango and it creates a step-by-step guide with screenshots of everything that I just did. And then I can go in there and I can like change the text. I'll be like, and so it would say like, click on forms and then click add new form. I can be like, we're going to add a new form here. I can go and adjust that, but it has a screenshot already for me for every single step of that process. And I don't have to do anything. I don't have to go screenshot steps. I don't have to create these guides or these SOPs. It just does it automatically for me. And then I love to take it a step further. I love to toss it into Canva and put a pretty cover on it and name it. And now my clients have like a library of step-by-step guides on how to do something. So really cool way. Another pretty cool automation that I love talking about because I just think it's so fun. Using Zapier. So Zapier is a tool that allows you to connect two tools together or more than two tools. I love to connect my client management system with a company called Handwritten. And Handwritten is a company that creates thank you cards. And they actually have a robot that holds a pen and it like writes on a card. Like it actually writes with a pen. They have like videos of their robots doing this. You can pick a handwriting that looks like yours. You create these templates. But for example, I can create this automation that says, when my client signs their contract and pays their deposit in Dubsado, then automatically send them a handwritten thank you card with a $5 Starbucks gift card in it. And they literally
it's physical mail that gets mailed.
Physical mail.
Wow.
They handwrite the card and Zapier will pass over the information like their address, their names, what service they might have booked, pass it over to Handwritten. It'll fill in a template like, I'm so excited for your custom design, like, thank you for being part of this. It will send them in the mail a handwritten card stamped, put a gift card in it and go straight to them in their physical mailbox automatically. You don't have to do anything.
Do you know what that cost? Like an estimate of it? I know we can look it up.
I think it was like if you're adding a gift card to it, like you're paying for the gift card as well. I think without a gift card, it's anywhere between $3 to $5 each.
Okay.
So not terrible. I also know that you can get it set up with your own custom stationery. Wow. Which is pretty cool.
That is really cool.
Yes. It's called Handwritten. There's a WRYTTEN.
Okay.
It's a really great tool. But that's definitely at the top of my pretty cool automations.
Yeah. Okay. And we'll link to all those for everyone.
Yes.
And with the chatbot stuff on Instagram, I've started using that recently, and I'll link to the one I've been using with a discount to get started with it because I joined their affiliate program. But I've loved it, and I've been exploring okay, what are all the ways I can use this? And one way I've started using it that I'm not sure we're going to see will work. We'll see when this episode airs. Maybe I'll be doing it that day. But basically, set up where I say, respond to the story with new episode or something to that effect. And then when someone responds new episode, the chatbot says, okay, great. I want to send you today's episode. Do you listen on Apple or Spotify? And then they select or you want the blog post. They select, and then it automatically sends them the link to the episode where they can go download it on Apple or Spotify or etc. Which that's been helpful though, because normally when I share it to stories, I'm having to be like, okay, here's the link on Apple. Here's the link on Spotify. Here's the blog. And unfortunately, Instagram doesn't love it when we're sending traffic away from them. So I'm like, and I don't feel like that many people are clicking on it anyway. So I'm like, if I can stop doing it and instead do it as like a DM conversation, and there's a whole lot of follow-up you can do. Like you were saying, you can have so many different responses. That's not like saying to every single person sent, you can do a lot of cool stuff there. And Tango, that sounds like, what many of us do where it's like Loom, where we're just like recording and talking through, but it's like leveled up because it's written, which I love. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of times where we want that instead.
Well, and I would even challenge you too. Some people like the video. Some people like the text. I am somebody that likes the text because if I have a sleeping child next to me, I don't want to watch a Loom video, especially a 20-minute Loom video.
Yeah, a lot of us can be long-winded when we make Looms too. I'm guilty of that. Like, that might be better for me to do something like
I get these emails. They're like, watch this Loom. And it's like 30 minutes long. And I'm like, absolutely not. But here's a challenge. Like, make that Loom video, but start the Tango before you start the Loom video so they both happen at the same time. And when you're done recording that video, you have your video, your Loom, but you also have a written version of it as well. So take advantage of these. Like, these are really cool ways to create a better experience for your clients, your audience, because not only are you giving them the information they need, but you're giving it to them in multiple ways that might process better for each individual person.
Yeah. Yeah, and for those of you with teams, that's a great way too to have really good, strong SOPs that are not just video or not just you wrote it out, but like you wrote it out with visuals. And I need to use Tango, like you're convincing me right now, because for our SOPs, I typically do. And I wish we had the conversation sooner because I just did a whole new like SOP for a bunch of different stuff. No. But I did it where it's Loom and then I wrote out what I'm doing with some screenshots. So I was like, I was manually doing that, basically. So yeah, that's great though. And I love the handwritten concept. And that's something too, where you can weigh that cost against having a team member do it even, or maybe you weren't, or doing it yourself. Like, what's your hourly rate on this? And does that make sense?
Exactly.
Tell us the next ones. Like, what are some of your favorite crazy automations?
So the WTF automations, this is really where AI comes in. Because again, AI is part of the automation spectrum, but not all automations are artificial intelligence. So speaking of teams, there's some tools out there right now that are really becoming a game changer for teams. For example, there's a tool called Noti. There's also, I believe Fathom is another one that does it. And I also think we're going to see it more and more with tools like Microsoft Copilot and Google Bard, which are their responses to these types of tools. But these tools actually integrate with Google Meet or Zoom or whatever online conferencing tool that you're using. These tools will not only create a transcript of what each person said. So it would be like, Elizabeth said this, Dawn said this. It will take that transcript. It will pull key moments out of the transcript. It'll generate action items, and it will create an email summary for you that automatically sends out to everybody on the call. So again, do you ever have that client meeting, that introduction meeting, and then you sit down and you type up this is what we talked about. So you have it in writing because if you don't write it down, nobody's going to remember. These tools will do that for you. So you just end the call and then it's done. It's all there. You can go through, make sure that it's all accurate. Everything looks good. And then you can automatically send it over to your client or your team, or document it and save it. Do you take those action items and translate it to a ClickUp, list? What does that mean? There's so many different use cases for it. Yeah. So that's one really cool way that AI is changing. What was that one called again? That you mentioned? There's a couple of them. There's one called Noti, Noty. .ai. Fathom is another similar one, but Fathom, you can actually capture sound bites of video. Okay. So let's say we're talking, you're like, oh, this is really good. You can push the button in Fathom and it will actually start the sound bite from when I started talking. And so even if you're 30 seconds into it, it'll go back. Yeah. And it will just grab a sound bite for you. And then Microsoft has announced Copilot, which is its version, kind of reminds me of Clippy. Y'all remember the paperclip in Microsoft? It's its AI version of its helper throughout its system. And Google Bard is BARD is Google's artificial intelligence that I think we're going to see more and more throughout the Google workspace, using Google Meet, Google Sheets, all of that good stuff. So we'll see. By the time this goes out, who knows?
Another application for that I'm thinking of is if you do group coaching within maybe you're a course creator and you have group coaching calls, I'm right there with those. Or if you offer one-on-one consulting, also right there. It's that'd be a great way to have that set up, and then sending, whether it's all of your students or just that one person, hey, here's a really great summary. Here's some here was a strong soundbite of a real, love it. Yeah. I'm going to look into both those because we right now do a lot of that manually. So I'm that's a great example, something we could automate there.
Well, and then here's the big question, what can you be doing with the time that you're not spending on that? Yeah. What can your assistant be doing instead of hand transcribing notes or screenshotting things? That's where the magic is. The magic isn't in the tool. It's in the magic of what you will do with the time that you have back.
I love that. Yeah, I'm with you. What's another really cool one?
So just taking a step back here, I think something important to note about AI is our conversations in our industry is all about the content creation. We're always talking about, blog posts and email marketing and all this text content, and that's great, but AI is so much more than that. One of the most impressive tools that I have used in the past few months is a photo editing tool called Imagine. Now, this is going to be mainly for photographers out there. Whoever is a photographer, you'll definitely want to check this out because it is blown me away. When I used it and I tested it for the first time, I literally sat there and I was did I leave the photography industry too soon? It made me question, what would my life look like if I had this when I was in the thick of this? But how it works is it asks me for a few thousand of my edited photos. So I gave it 4 weddings. Each wedding had 1,500 photos of it. I gave it to it and it learns my editing style. It learned how I edited that photo when I was in a dark church versus in a barn versus on a lawn somewhere. It learns that and it creates an AI profile for me. Then moving forward, now that I have my AI profile, I can simply upload all of the RAWs that I want to edit. And it's editing weddings in 10 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
Y'all, this would take weeks. And I have an editor on my team. She's amazing. And this did this in 10 minutes. So when I think of that, yes, I still want an editor because I don't want to go through all 1,500 of those photos to make sure that they look exactly how they're supposed to. But if she could get this initial edit done in 10 minutes, she could spend all of her time either taking more clients, or she could spend all of her time really fine-tuning this and making this gallery super cohesive and fluid. And I didn't have that before. So now even I took photos of my children in a bluebonnet field. It's Texas where I am. So there's bluebonnets everywhere. We went into a field. We took bluebonnet pictures. I handed Imagine over the pictures and it came back to me in 2 minutes and they were fully edited. I didn't have to do anything. And it took it took my art, it took everything that I taught it, and it's able to look at the image, the lighting, the color, all of that, and it's able to generate an edited image based off of my own edits. So pretty amazing. It's mind-blowing. Yeah. And I think we're going to see more and more productivity tools coming to the surface. There's one really popular one called Motion. You probably have seen a Facebook ad for it.
Yes, so many ads.
I get an ad for it. I'm like, I have the free trial.
Yeah, I did too, but I haven't used it because I was kind of like, how do I actually use this? So yeah, let's talk about that one.
Yeah. So I need a little bit more integration from Motion to be ready. Like, I think if ClickUp can really get smart in how they use that tool, I think it can be a game changer. Okay. But what Motion does is it looks at your Google Calendar. You have your tasks for the day, how long they take, and based off of your calendar and the priority of those tasks, it'll tell you when you need to do those tasks. Yeah. So it'll fill the gaps of your calendar with your to-dos. And then let's say another meeting pops in. So pops into that 1:00 spot when you were supposed to write those podcast notes. It will take that task and then move it to a different time that fits based on the priority. And so it's just constantly changing your due dates and when you're going to do things based off of what is happening in your life. Or if a task didn't get done in that hour, it's actually going to take 2 hours. It adjusts everything falling from that point forward. So that's right. I think we're going to see more and more of those tools. As a mom and an entrepreneur, I'm really excited for those kind of tools because analysis paralysis is a thing. Like, I will stare at my screen and be like, what do I need to do first? And it's really intimidating.
Yeah, that would be amazing to be able to be like, hey, here's all the stuff I'm trying to get done this week. And that's something, it makes me think about the podcast episode I have. I think it's episode 49 of this show, so a long time ago, about planning your week on a calendar and putting everything into it. It's like that tool's going to help you maybe see some spots and gaps in a better system of putting it. And those ads are strong for that. So if you guys see the Motion ads, read the copy. I feel like I've actually, when I've seen the ads, I'm like, oh wow, y'all are just really, you've identified the pain point and really clearly said how you're helping it. But then when I've gone into, I'm kind of confused about how to use it, but I do think the ads are really strong. Yeah. That's cool.
It'll be exciting. Well, it's just the beginning, right? Yeah. And I think that's something important. If something doesn't work for you now, that doesn't mean it won't in 6 months. So don't just totally write off something until, I think as entrepreneurs, we get so committed to our tools. There's a lot of brand loyalty, there's a lot of really strong followings behind tools. And I think it's important to acknowledge that sometimes you're going to lose more money by staying with a tool that doesn't serve you anymore, rather than spending the money to go to another tool that's actually going to be better for you and your business. So if you have a tool that you love, don't change it. It's great. But if you don't love your tool, but you might have already paid for it or you have a lifetime account for it, you're going to possibly lose money just by staying there. And you might also lose more money than it would cost to actually move to a tool that better serves you. So don't hesitate to reevaluate your tools. Don't hesitate to try new things. That's what trials are for. And if something is a game changer, find somebody that's an expert in that. If you need a coaching session or if you need somebody to set it up for you, there's people out there that are experts in all of these tools. Yeah. I am an expert in some. Yes.
Yeah.
But there's people out there that their entire business is dedicated to Dubsado or to HoneyBook or to ClickUp or to whatever tool it is out there. And, just find somebody that's willing to tell you if it's going to not be a good fit for you too. I think a lot of people try to force a tool on people just because they love the tool so much. And that's not the best way to go about it.
Yeah. How would you say we avoid the squirrel mentality of because there are so many. So I use ClickUp. I used to use Basecamp. There's Monday, there's Trello, there's Asana, there's Notion. Hearing someone that you really look up to or you like their business being this is the thing I use. How do you evaluate well that okay, that's what they use, but maybe it's not time for that yet? Or how do you know when to switch? I know you just said starting with a trial smart, but it also can become busy work if we're obsessively always trying to decide between Dubsado and HoneyBook for 1,000 years. Some way you just gotta pick, what would you say?
Let me do that work for you. That's what I do. I am the squirrel. I chase the shiny penny. So when it comes to evaluating new tools and finding new things, you really just have to kind of figure out what is most important to you. Here's an example. I have been a ClickUp user for ever and a day. I have been with them since before the pandemic. So I have been through many iterations of ClickUp. I have recently, in my workflow, really needed a strong iPad app for my tools. And for a little while, ClickUp did not have it. They had a very limited use case for the iPad app. And because I really needed it in that season, I stepped away from ClickUp. Now that that solution is there, now that it is better, I can come back and, see what coming back to ClickUp looks like for me. Yeah. But that was just me evaluating, because no, I don't want to spend all this time moving to another tool, or I don't want to spend all this time like doing all these things. I really had to sit down and be like, okay, is having this iPad version really going to save me time, money, whatever it was, my problem point? And I had to make a decision. So at that time, with my current setup and what I was working on, I did need it. So for that project, I had stepped away from the tool and I used Notion for that project. So it's just, you really have to evaluate what your need for it is. If you never use the mobile app, then I would never suggest that you leave the tool. Saying that I heard somebody say once was good for her, not for me. And I try to really encourage that when it comes to tools. Just because so-and-so uses it, or just because there's an affiliate link, or just because it's on sale, or they have a lifetime deal, doesn't mean that you have to have it. Figure out if it's really going to solve any problems that you're having in your business, and then move forward with it if it does. If it doesn't, try your best to not chase that shiny penny, or go do that trial and see if it's really that great. If it is, and it's the best use of your time, then sit down and make that move. But if it's not the best use of your time, go find what is. Yeah. Figure out what's important and move on from that shiny penny and those marketing campaigns, because they're good at what they do.
They are. Yes, I love that advice. Okay, last question, and then we'll move into some rapid fire ones. Ooh, when it comes, I feel like you are the tech expert. I've learned so much from you. And I also have learned from you and literally just conversations about your day-to-day life as a working mom, and how, that's changed a lot since you pivoted from photography to what you do now. I'd love to hear a little bit of, there's a lot of things I'd love to hear, but you can take this whatever direction you want to go. But what your day-to-day schedule is like working, because you do have 2 kids at home. Literally, your husband right now is helping you be able to do this podcast interview. So it's like,
you might hear them.
I know. Yeah. I've heard, I think we did hear a little bit. Listeners may not have picked up on that. Yeah. But what is your work life like? How are automations helping you when you don't have that much childcare help? What are some focus and strategy tips you could give?
Totally. I think this is a area of my life that I am constantly learning and evolving as well. And I truly have to remind myself that this season will not be here forever. And when it's gone, I'm going to miss it. So I'm trying to not sulk in it. I am an Enneagram 3. So productivity is my thing. I just want to get all the things done. I want to launch all the things. And I'm in a season where that just doesn't work for my schedule. So I do have 2 little ones. One is 4 and one just turned 1. And we just got the 4-year-old into a full-time program. So she is at school until 4:30 every day. So that helps tremendously. Now the baby, the little one, who is also a Velcro baby, she has to be attached and held at all times. We really just kind of have to roll with the punches with her. We do have her on a wait list, but it's not until January. So
a long time.
Yeah, it's so far away. Y'all, we're recording this in March. Okay. So someday, hopefully the 2 girls will be at school together. We had them both in a program, and then Quinn, our youngest, got really sick. She was in the hospital for a week. So we had to pull her out of the program, and now we can't get back into the program. So we're looking at it's just this whole thing. But for us, it's really one day at a time. And my husband, who also works from home, he is a software engineer. So there's a lot of tech going on in this house. He works from home. Our deal is that he takes the baby until about 10:30 in the morning every day. So it gives me like a solid like hour, 2 hours in the morning to get important tasks done like this. So like when you sent me your schedule, like I had to choose a time that was in this time slot. Then the baby goes down for her nap, and then I have until the end of nap to get whatever I need to get done. If the baby doesn't go down for her nap, or if her nap ends, I'm on mommy duty. So what I have to do is I just have to really prioritize what I am doing every day and really get clear on what is important to me in this season. So for me, my priority has just been staying relevant, honestly. Like I would say I probably work maybe 10 hours a week right now, which is not very much. It is my goal to create a online persona that I'm not only working 10 hours a week, that I am here, I am constantly learning, and I am constantly learning. Like when I am with the baby, I'm reading articles or I'm watching YouTube videos on how to do these things. And that's just the priority for the season. I am not doing huge, big launches on projects, not huge courses. I might be collaborating and helping out and partnering with other people and supporting any way I can. But I, at Tech Savvy, am not taking on these like huge full-time clients right now. I am not taking on these retainer CTO type clients. That's just the season we're in. So hopefully here that when baby does when we get her into some kind of program, that will evolve and go from there. But in the meantime, I'm leaning on the automations I can, whether that be automations, reminders, and I offer Vox days. So I use Voxer coaching, and that's a great way for me to stay relevant and to help people because one, that whole process to book is totally automated online. It just shows up on my calendar and I'm like, oh, I have a Vox day. But also that gives me an outlet to serve people while holding a baby if I needed to. Like I don't have to be on video. I can be in the drive, like the pickup line at school, or I can be running errands and still serve that client. Yeah. So that's one way I've done that. You know, social media posting and having that automated is a big part of it. So it's just where are the gaps that I need to fill? And that's where I lean into automations to help do that. So we also watch a lot of Miss Rachel in this house. So
that's great. I love the inside look at what it looks like. And the you're trying to, like you said, stay relevant, take on like some clients, and yeah, you're doing a great job with it. And I love,
thank you.
I love learning from you and like, what does it look like to do both and have, baby at home, 2 babies, all that. Yeah. Okay. This has been awesome. Okay. I have some rapid fire questions for you.
I'm ready.
Okay. First one, you have the Gabby template from my shop for your website. And you also were like, you're a longtime customer. So you had the Reese template before then.
Reese. I think my website's like a hybrid of Reese and Gabby right now.
Is.
I think it's more Gabby, but definitely has some Reese in it still.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. That's cool how you when you redesigned it, you didn't completely scrap your old. It was more like pulling in.
Yeah, I liked elements. I liked the cleaner elements of it.
Yeah.
Reese served me really well with my original branding, and then Gabby just kind of like cleared it up. But then you said there's a Carrie one, so I'm excited to see.
Yes,
take all my money, Elizabeth. Like
you said, with one of my launches, I remember you sent me an email like that, and it was like that's like the best. And we were so excited. I remember you saying that. Yeah. What would you say to someone though who is like, I'm considering a template for my shop? What would you kind of tell them there?
Oh, do it. Y'all, so here's some context. I white label design for Show It designers. So what that means is designers will send me a mock-up of what they want their Show It website to look like, and I'll actually turn it into Show It for them. So I know Show It really well, and I still buy templates because that is not the best use of my time for my own business. Your templates are detailed. They are beautiful and they are easy to use. And that's what I need for my business. So anybody that's like on the fence about it, you're going to save so much time. And even if you are a designer, or even if you are somebody that's tech savvy or knows Show It, just do it. So then you can spend the time serving your clients and serving, customizing that template. But I cannot recommend it enough. And you'll probably have my money again with this new launch because I have to have everything.
Well, thank you for those kind words. And I love hearing that. And I love hearing too that, yeah, you're right that like, even when show it, I saw someone that show user group the other day kind of asking about that. It's like, unless you're like a designer designing for a client, there's no reason to like do it from scratch.
No.
So using templates is great.
Yeah. You're not proving anything to anybody. Yeah. Nobody cares.
Yeah. No one's going to know that your copywriting website that you built from scratch.
No.
Yeah. Okay. What is your favorite tech tool that you use on your website? Maybe something even a little obscure, or it doesn't have to be related to your website. Maybe just something in your business, however you want to take that.
So on my website, something I'm pretty proud of right now is I'm actually using a Zapier, because I really like show it forms. I like how they look. I like how customizable they are. Yeah. My CRM is Sprout Studio. I use Sprout Studio for both the photography business and for Tech Savvy Creative. Love them, adore them. But I don't love their embedded forms. And I would say the same for any of the CRMs. The embedded forms just look clunky on these really beautiful websites. So I have a Zap that actually takes those, the show it form from the show it robot, and it will automatically make it a lead inside of my client system. Awesome. So I can create these beautiful custom forms, but still have the functionality of an embedded form for my CRM.
Oh, I love that. I haven't heard people talk about doing that. That makes total sense that you absolutely can. So yeah, if you like show its forms and don't want to embed, that's a great idea. I love that.
It's a little complicated. You have to use Zapier's email parser to do it. But once you get it set up, it works pretty well. So
that's really cool. Okay. What is one of the best or most worthwhile investments that you've ever made?
Hands down, education in our business. Not the education, the content is great, but in-person events, conferences, workshops, masterminds, the relationships that you make with these people are so much more valuable than the content itself. And you learn so much from the people around you, whether you're a speaker or an attendee, is just so good. And I like to call myself a conference junkie. Like, I love conferences. I've been to show it's for like 6 years. We were at Laylee's conference, the Creative Educator Conference. I cannot wait to go back to that one next year. It's just investing in yourself and in your business is going to return back to you in so many more ways than just financial gain. The relationships you make with these people are just truly the most valuable thing you can have. So go spend some money on a conference. Come hang out with us in January. Are you going to go again in January?
I do. Yes. That's such good. Yeah, it's such good advice. And as I would say, I did like when Colin was first born, I did like a year of no events or anything. And I truly missed it. I think it was the right decision for that season of life. But as a mom, it really is a nice getaway because it's work, but then it also feels like you're getting a break. Even speaking at a conference, which does not feel like a break, that's a lot of work, but it's still in a way, it's like a break from the life at home, and that can feel really nice and all the socializing. So yeah, I'm totally with you.
100%.
What is a purchase of $100 or less that's positively impacted your life in like the last 6 months or recent memory?
I'm so glad you sent this to me because I thought of the answer to this in the middle of the night last night, and you're going to laugh. Okay, so I have 2 of these answers, but the first one, the most positively impacting item I've bought in recent memory is a chicken shredder.
Oh, wow.
So, okay, mom life over here. My daughter's 1. She can't just like eat like whole chicken legs, right? So I shred a lot of chicken, and I'll take one of those like Tyson pre-cooked frozen chicken breast and toss it in the air fryer for a few minutes. But then I have this chicken shredder that's like a plate, and then it put another plate on top of it, and it has handles, and you go like this and it shreds the chicken.
Wow.
And I use it probably 3 times a day. Like, I know that's so silly, but it saves me so much time, and it was like a $20 Amazon product. So highly recommend a chicken shredder. But now this isn't recently, but early on, like when I started my business in 2015, I was gifted the Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey. That changed our lives. Like, really. Awesome. We had probably $150,000 of debt between my husband and I. And before I was able to go full time, we fully paid off all of our debt.
Wow.
And I truly think that has been a really important part of me being able to not really work in this season, just kind of be relevant, but maybe not like have these huge launches. Like I can spend time with the baby when we don't have a car payment and credit card payments and like all of that. But that's really set both of my businesses up with a really strong foundation. And it really allowed us to create the business that we dreamed of. So that's my number one recommendation to anybody who's looking to change their lives.
Yes. I love that. Thanks for sharing that. And both of those, like very practical kitchen gadget and a book to change your life. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell everyone where they can find you. And I think you do have a resource on AI stuff for people. Tell us about that and where we can connect with you.
So you can get the free AI toolkit for creatives at tech-savvycreative.com/AI. And as of this recording, it is not launched. It launches the first week of April, but by the time this recording does go live, it will be there. So join that. It's a free resource. It basically is a place where I am adding new AI tools that I keep finding and talking about them. Any blog posts, any content around AI will live there as well. It just kind of gives you a one-stop shop for all of the information. And again, as I see a new tool and I try it out, I'm going to be putting it on there as well. So that's for free, tech-savvycreative.com/AI. And you can find me on Instagram is probably where I hang out the most. And I am Tech Savvy Creative there.
Awesome. Yes, I'm excited for that, guy. That's so smart. And you can use your affiliate links. Which I'm sure you're doing. And
there's a lot of affiliate links.
Yeah, that's a great idea and so helpful. So all these tools we're talking about, I'm sure are going to be in your guide and everyone needs to go get that. Okay. Yes. Well, Dawn, thank you for being here. This was so fun. I learned, I took notes on new tools I didn't even hear you talk about previously. So anyway, this was awesome. Thank you. Thank you for listening to this podcast episode all the way until the end. I appreciate you being here. And if you enjoyed this episode, then I want to invite you to check out my website template shop too. Over on elizabethmccravy.com, you'll find show website templates that are easy to use, strategically designed, and created to help you book more clients and customers. Maybe your current website is really boring. Maybe it's a challenge to update, and maybe even it's that thing that you really feel like is just completely holding your business back. Your website needs to be strategically and intentionally designed in order for it to convert your viewers into raving customers, and that's exactly what my M-Shop templates do. So these are pre-made show it website templates where you can plug and play your content into it with ease and then get started with a website that's designed to actually help you make more money. These templates are designed to be SEO friendly on the back end, and they're not just pretty, but they are very strategic and with all the strategies I teach on this podcast. And best of all, they're easy for you to set up all by yourself. So shop them at elizabethmccravy.com/shop and come join the M-Shop family of hundreds of happy customers. And as an added perk, you can use the code BBPodcast at checkout to get 10% off any template as a thank you for being a part of the podcast family. So that's BB Podcast for 10% off any template over at elizabethmccravy.com. And if you love this podcast, don't forget that you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts so that you never miss an episode, and leave a rating and review for the show wherever you're listening. Share it with a friend, share it on Instagram or Facebook. That's a great way to support the podcast and get the word out. All right, I'll be back next week with another new episode.